All right, everybody. Welcome again to Civic Tech Hacknight number 516. Today, we are so excited to have Patcon with us. So, Patcon is a lovely friend of Civic Tech, public servant, and independent researcher of deliberative democracy and all of the social, psychosocial almost elements that are around it and orient towards aliveness and togetherness. He also really likes maps, and this is one of the topics of tonight. This presentation is also about Polis-like tools, which some of you may already be familiar with Polis, but Patcon will do a great job explaining to you what it is. Patcon, take it away.
Cool. Yeah, no, thanks very much, Aaron. So yeah, this is I guess I'd like to do it full screen, but I flip between tabs a lot. So I think, is this a big enough size? Can people see it well? Yes. Okay, I see thumbs up. Thank you. So yeah, I guess this is sharing about a kind of a perspective mapping tool that I've been working on. I've kind of been building some prototypes that build on top of Polis. I'll quickly talk about Polis, but since it's not necessary, I'm trying to build on it, I'll be brief. But yeah, maybe my intro, who am I? I guess this is an intro like kind of related to the tools that I use, kind of makes me think about the things we're between, what the things that we're at the center of and maybe can't see out of, and the things we're between and are almost in a high ground when we're between groups, and we can kind of see the complexity of things. So who am I in relation to like others I'm here with? I'm at the center of some identities: white, Irish, male, technologist, Canadian Westerner, failed biochemist, sighted, able-bodied. And these are the things that, maybe I'm in the middle of and it's hard to see out of. And the things I'm between are like the tensions that sometimes I hold in like the communities and kind of identities and perspectives that I might fall between. And yeah, so I guess I kind of don't never felt like I like blended in like male machismo culture. I like relational communication. I have biological and technological perspectives that don't always appear together. And anyway, this intro is coming from the way the tool works. I feel like it's given this view or helped me see the world a little more this way. So yeah, the Polis. There's a tool that some of you might know, and I'm kind of trying to take a riff on it with the experiments I've been doing. Kind of like allowing, instead of like kind of painting groups with an algorithm, the idea is to like allow you to kind of paint and explore, not just like kind of at the big high level, but you can like paint down at lower levels and kind of like dig into like kind of like we're essentially exploring like subtle structure of like the data, and trying to build interfaces for more people to do that. So what is Polis experientially? Since like, that's the like mostly how people approach it. It's basically three things. It's like you can input and react to statements, and like it could be like memes, really. It doesn't have to be statements. That's just what we've chosen to. There's a reaction, agree, which is walking towards something, disagree, which is walking away, and pass, which is kind of like almost not letting something affect you. So walking towards, walking away, or pass, agree, disagree, pass. And then there's a way to add in more things for other people to react to and to walk away, to walk towards and walk away from. And then there's an interface to help kind of share the insight of what this system can maybe see that we can't see as well. So yeah, this is like what it looks like on its own page, and that's probably the last I'll show of Polis. But kind of, yeah. So essentially, it's a decision support tool, not a decision making tool. It's like maps, not ballots. So this is more like it's more a mapping than a ballot box, or it's like cartography, more cartography than election. So it's like kind of think of a Polis conversation as like a cartography party. You're all making a map together. It's not administering an election. So mathematically, the pieces of it, which are helpful to know, is that yeah, it's a data collection tool. As I said, there's one piece for data collection. There's a thing that kind of like splats this complicated data onto like a 2D thing that we can explore quite easily, and that's a dimensional reduction part. And then it has a way to, you've splatted all the participants onto like a map, and now you've got to like decide who's groups and who's not. And there's like Polis has a way of like labeling everyone automatically. It does that work for us. And then it does some stats on that to kind of, for each group, compare like, what does the inside compare to the outside? Each group, what is their relation to their environment, the people in the environment? And like, it's kind of a contrast across from the inside of the group and the world outside the group. And it's trying to, uh, help us see what's significant about that difference. So the tool I've made is It kind of doesn't do data collection. I've just like stolen the data from Polis conversations. Um, Let me see what I am for time. Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, and we paint them on. The idea is like people can explore and paint. So the demo, but first, I want you guys to think in islands. So these are little like dots. The dots are participants and people who've responded, agree, disagree, pass to a lot of things, and we can think of them like islands, kind of like as the data gets fed in and we're given more information. You can think of it like islands kind of rising from the ocean, um, and like maybe just quickly like the relationship that we're kind of doing is that the computer can see things that we can't, but we know about the world. We know about our feelings. We are the sensors for that. And we shouldn't trust the computer to do those things. We are the sensory apparatus for that. We can sense human values. It's only learning it through us. So like we can see things that it can't see, but we can't always make sense of that data and how complex it is. So we basically, this is an interface for throwing that data and getting it into the system where an algorithm can make more sense of it. And then it's about also an interface for not just getting the data in, but one for getting the insight of what it can see better than us out, so we can make sense of it, because we can make sense of it best as humans who have those human values. Um, Maybe real quick, yeah. So it helps us see the boundaries and what exists across them. It helps us see and explore places of difference, but also of sameness. Like what's the same across boundaries is often just as important as what's different. Sometimes we're surprised by sameness, just as we can be surprised by certain differences. Um, yeah, there's like some of these things are not interesting, and we want to we want to find interesting samenesses, interesting differences, maybe even surprising sameness and difference. Um, and then why care about boundaries? Like why are we doing groups? Why are we trying to see more groups? And the idea is like the conversations happen at the boundaries of groups. Like if you can see more groups, there's almost like if there's two groups, there's one conversation to be had. If there's three conversations to be had. If there's like five conversations, if there's five groups, that means there's 15 conversations. There's a combinatorial explosion. The more groups that you can know how to see, there are more kind of like intersections over which you need to talk and suss out the differences in order to find the shared path forward. So basically, kind of every boundary we struggle to see together, my thesis is a conversation we will struggle to have together. And if there's missing conversations in the cultural dialogue, we're kind of flailing because we're not like we can't get through that. So the thing that I've built, I'll just maybe think in islands, and we can go inside out. We can kind of sense make around the islands. We can think about like all the features of the landscape on these algorithms surface have meaning. So there's inland versus coastal means something. People are on the inland for a reason. They're on the coast for a reason. They're on the east or the west for a reason. They are like on different peninsulas for a reason. Um, so yeah. So this is the tool that I've made to reprocess Polis data. Uh-oh. Yes. Okay. Um, so can you guys see this? Yeah, so this essentially allows us to like explore and paint. Oh, I'm gonna have to move some things around so I can see this better. I'm used to actually doing this on small screens. Maybe I will make this a little smaller. Um, you know what? I'll actually work with this. So it's actually a painting interface. And so what we can do is there are, when I've colored this orange, we can click it and it's going to compare orange against everywhere else. And what we can find is we can see this is like actually data from a protest where you had 3,000 people from 1 million people on the street, the largest protest in Chilean history. And here, this is showing us as we're like painting groups and clicking them. That's like the black group and the orange group. And what we can see is we can actually see like, oh, this group says with high numbers, they want to empower the police so they can truly combat vandalism, which is not a common view in a protest, you might imagine. We can kind of like explore this one. They disagree with the cops must be the worst civil order institution in the world. They don't want to eliminate Army Glory Days and National Guard Days. So we can kind of like start exploring this. And this is showing like kind of all the votes of all the people in these groups. So we could, just gonna getting some interface stuff in the way. Yeah, we can start kind of clicking around these things. And maybe it's a little like what we're seeing is we're seeing these are the people who like kind of hold some strange views. They are a minority view of like they aren't for the protest in a lot of ways. But like maybe we're wondering like why are there different what are the different corners of this? Like why, maybe if we go to one of these, we can see if there had been no vandalism in the protest, this group mostly disagreed with this. Um, but like there's a small part that didn't. If there had been no vandalism, the people would never have been heard. National Guard, earn your name, support the people. But there's some dissent here. So we can kind of like look at that and be like, okay, what's going on here? It looks like one of these groups is separate because they kind of support this statement. So I'm going to like color this group different. And now we can actually kind of zoom in. I'm going to like, I'll click this button down here, and now it's going to ignore all the black. So essentially like what we're seeing with these statements is where it's almost telling us like, what is the unique cultural character of the people of this island, the members of this island? Like what, if I was like traveling here, if it was a physical place, what do I need to know about these people that separate them from everywhere else? And that's what we were seeing at the big picture. But now we're actually asking a smaller question because we've taken off the black group and the stats are happening on a smaller group. We're like, what's the unique cultural character of orange compared to purple? So it's like asking a different question of the data. So now we can start looking for things that are like this little bar is showing us like what's different between the groups. So we're looking for like one side red, one side green. And like basically we can see this if they're, this is the statement that separated them before, but we might learn a few more things about them. Like the protest must continue until we get concrete solutions. Like there's actually like they're pretty in favor of that, even though they're law and order people. Everyone over here is law and order. Um, they have some like more complex views. And you could start to like maybe if this were running live, we could actually throw some like probes in, new statements to understand like maybe these are military families or maybe these are like law and order people, but they who support the protests, but like they don't like people kind of like going after the military and the police for some reason. But yeah, this is basically an interface for like asking questions of the data. Um, and yeah, and basically all these structures mean different things, and you can kind of be curious and learn more if there's like the right incentives in place. Um, we think. And also partly why I built this is because like we can to explore like different projections of the data. If I could show like this is what Polis knows how to see. Like it's drawing its two groups or its simple view is kind of on top of this. This is like this is the view that Polis sees into the data. But like we can see that the like newer algorithms that like are very recent, like kind of can see more structure. These people, like it's almost like casting a different shadow through the data. And one of the yeah, like maybe I'm going to take last second to say what I think is really interesting about um, kind of the question when we have maps as a new kind of way to explore this, we can actually like start thinking about the layers on top. Like just as a map doesn't tell us anything about where to go. It just gives us a way to get to a lot of places. And I think there's something about opinion data too. If we can find the right projection through, if we can find the right algorithm to show us a good base map, we can actually start putting things on top that help us give meaning. And you can put like a real map, you can put census data, you can put Yelp scores, and they help you do very different things in the world. So if we can kind of see a map of who we are together, then we can maybe actually start stacking layers on top that like help us do different things in the world. And like one of the things I'm experimenting with is like this idea of like, what is it to trace a route through opinion space? Like this is the same data, but it's like slightly this is like not in the final interface, but like to plot a route through the data, you're actually like, each person is placed where they have a little neighborhood of people who are probably very much like them and share a lot of their values and perspectives of the world. But as you get further away on the map, as you move away, you encounter people who kind of share less and less values. And you kind of have to do more work to speak across that distance. But like when you plot a route, you're actually having a waypoint through each person. Kind of each person is just a little bit different than the one, maybe on their way to like, you have like an anti-protest person over here, and then you have the hardcore activists on one side. But if we plot a route through opinion space, then we maybe actually have a full chain. Like if you were to throw a party with all these people or invite them all to like create policy together, you would actually have the most continuous chain of values, human values, that you can trace through the opinion space, covering a lot of the territory. And you can also, like I've set this up here so that where there's a penalty for going through the density centers. So you can essentially it's the avoid highways of Google Maps, but in opinion space. And in this kind of world, you're actually like you're staying on the outskirts. You're passing through all the outsiders and all the weirdos who could like you're essentially passing through the people who are the weirdos and the outsiders and the in-betweeners of the kind of like the strange attractors in like the urban spaces of this like space of this map. So it's like an even interesting, yeah, like who would you get if we like brought these people together? And I think that's an interesting question that the tools can kind of provoke. Um, I, yeah, I think I'm at time, so I'll pass back.
Thank you so much for that comment. Honestly, you could have gone for 2 or 3 minutes more if you wanted to.
Uh,
But I'm sure that the people will ask you the right probing questions in order to get you to talk about what matters most. This is again a lovely presentation. Love maps, love what you do.
mm,
Let's start with some of the in-person questions. We've got our here with the question. Oh,
It's like we're having some trouble.
okay. Well, you'll only be able to hear a faint whisper of me. Um, yeah, let's start in person, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think that was great talk. Just wondering,
very quiet.
well, is that any better
I can't actually hear.
at all? Okay, what about this? Does that work?
No, I'm not hearing anything. Well, sorry. Obviously, I'm hearing something, but anyway, it just ask the question, and I'll like if I can't hear, I'll.
I'm also gonna try to come closer. Maybe it's the
Uh,
wireless thing. Does that mean better?
It did get way better, I think, because you're walking towards some of their mic. But yeah,
Okay, all right. All right. Well, I was just gonna ask if this tool would be like your use case seems like it would be used to select people for like a citizens assembly or something along those lines.
I think yeah, and I've kind of yeah, I think there's some prototypes that some other people in the larger Discord have suggested where like you can essentially like like there's a way to select like little density clusters and essentially you make little like composite. Basically, there's a way to like actually turn each one of these little points into like a person who you could talk to who's like populated a little bit with their contradictions and like essentially like flesh it out with like uh a large language model, which I'm not normally pretty big on, but like basically there's a way to like you could use I was thinking of this as a way to build or to make it more intuitive how representative samples are formed, because I think we all know that statisticians do this, but like I think there's something about seeing like, oh, we all live in lands of perspective. And we maybe don't see this very well, but now we can see it well. And we can see that all the people speaking, all the people in the room making the law, all the people whose voices are being included or not included, like where are they in the landscape? And if it really helps us kind of viscerally understand, like, oh, there's no one from here present. So like, is this a legitimate process or is it not? So you can basically like, yeah, as a way to make it more understandable what the meaningful dimensions of representation are. Um, because like you can see where people's perspectives on an issue, because these maps are different for every issue. Like we could do one of all of Canadian society, but these work, that yeah, like it's often per complex issue that we're doing one of these maps. Um, yeah, did that make sense?
Yes. If you have a
Cool.
question, just come up to the lap. We're just on the laptop mic. That's what's going on. Sorry. Any more questions?
Hi. Great, great. This is super cool. Yeah.
Yay, thank you.
I'm from the business world, and I hate to say this, but I think a lot of business would love this.
Yeah, no, that's great. If you
No, like
transform communication structures, you transform the very thing itself. So I'm excited about that.
customer segmentation, or even in politics, going after the ones that they don't agree with and targeting those people. It's a little scary. But anyways,
Oh, no, you're
yeah.
right. This is essentially an open source Cambridge Analytica. It's very, I would never build, the reason I'm going to great efforts, I know this isn't your actual question, but is that uh, I feel a moral imperative to allow as many people as possible to explore this data. Because some people are already in this data already. Like we're being coerced and our attention is like, there are auctions for our attention that happen with this data all the time. But the important thing is that it's like giving interfaces that we all can know and metaphors that we all know how to think about. And that is highly accessible and democratic. I would never build this stuff for government only. Um, I would actually refuse to give these tools to
I,
power if they weren't given to the people. Yeah.
so how are you thinking of like large data collection on all sorts of topics? How are you going to go about that?
I'm trying to like just get people's. It's hard because I feel like this data is terrifying. Like it's a toxic asset. Like no one should own this unless they can legitimately like claim that it has a purpose that is for the collective good, because it's like it's scary. And I think like trying to repair democracy is worthy of collecting it. And so I think I'm trying to show first what's possible, but I think we actually need some like clever maths and like cryptography and like I don't want to get tripped over our own feet by doing that first, because I think people, it's hard to imagine what's possible. It's like I feel like I'm building these things to paint a picture of what's possible to run towards before we start binding our arms to like, which I think we should do. We should hold basically that you need to protect this data and actually anonymize it in smart ways and use kind of like, yeah, things I can't do. But it's like the order of operations for me is like not enough people know what's possible, and that's my feeling of the imperative of this moment, like the hope.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. It was a really good question. Thanks for asking a challenging one.
Hi, Patcon. Real cool talk. Did you present this over to your to the conference you were participating
I
in?
had like an hour, but yeah, it was just as scattered. But
Okay.
I could. It was really hard. It's really hard to read the room. I think like it was hard. It's hard to not see everyone's faces now. So I'm sorry if I lost some people. I would
Yeah.
normally not want to do that.
That's okay. I had the longer talk before. You gave me that one before, but I was curious. Did you get any feedback from people like who are in this space on like ways they've tried exploring this kind of tooling in their own applications, or maybe ways that they're thinking about like using this in their own spaces that they're building? I was just curious.
Yeah. I think there was one thing, the people who work on citizens assemblies were at this conference. And I think there was a few people there's a bit of a moment happening around like citizen assemblies are looked at, like that's where a bunch of regular citizens come together. They get paid for a while to deeply learn an issue. They're randomly selected to be representative, and they kind of just are paid to hash it out instead of politicians, and then they kind of write a policy paper together. It's a little different, but I'm sure I'm getting some things wrong. But those people are that's a very old practice, and they're kind of becoming a little like hybrid with like they're usually very skeptical of tools, but they've actually become very endeared to like Polis-like tools to support their process. And and yeah, a bunch of national pilots are happening, and there's a lot of funding, and they're actually starting to kind of think about getting into the media landscape. And like, there's people talking to like Netflix about shows that focus on citizen assemblies and try to humanize them and like create like momentum behind them. And so those conversations, like essentially people are trying to think like, those people were like, oh, this could be really cool for like there are so many important national broadcasts that are kind of the old world, like the president in America gets on the stage and does a State of the Union, and just tells everyone where we're going. But like, what would it be if just like on election day, you have like the blue states and the red states and the play-by-play, and they're like updates is like this state is doing like it's a whole like you've got like essentially this weather person, this weatherman or meteorologist who's like kind of like focused on their map of the election, talking about the play-by-play of how it unfolds. And there's a world where all the things said in this important live broadcast by this powerful figure could be just like all the statements and assumptions could be like plucked right out of that and like rebroadcast side by side with the State of the Union. And everyone just, as they're watching, is reacting. Oh, I like that. I hate that. I like that. And like literally these islands could kind of rise from the ocean in parallel, and we could see when the emperor has no clothes. We could see like we could, so there I think there were people at this conference who are like kind of a little bit getting into like media landscapes, thinking about like how to use this to like to strap on to the old broadcast processes, which are not the best part of our systems, like but they're there, and there's infrastructures built for broadcast media, and um yeah, and like, but actually turning them into where we can see a bit of our collective selves in that. And it's not just seeing what power thinks we should do. And like, but we can see when we're like, when everyone's like, fuck no, what that part that he said or she said, like, we don't like that. And it becomes marginalized on the map, or you see how few people might agree with that part. Um, so yeah. Does that make sense? I'm
Yep. That
cool.
answers. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you for answering your questions. I think we can only take one more question from online because we are kind of running short on time. But I assume that we're going to be hosting a breakout.
Okay, we have Garo as a question from online.
Yes.
Hi. Well, if there's gonna be a breakout, I might just pass my question to someone else because I have a few and I don't want to pick which one.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, we also have Karishma has a question.
So I think you kind of already touched on this, but like you said, this is very similar to Cambridge Analytica. And that was my first thought. I was like, oh, that's amazing and also terrifying.
Mhm.
Because, and I mean, once you put this out there, it's out there, right? It's the, like, and with, assuming it's open source, there's no real control over that, right? So how do we make sure that this in fact gets used for more democratic purposes? You know what I mean? I know maybe you don't have an answer
Yeah.
to that because it's a hard question, but I just thought we should at least talk about it.
Yeah, no, it really is like what I think is wild is that I think this is known in like I have no doubt, like I've worked in privacy and like essentially like there are tools, like we saw what was available when Snowden did his leak, and it's been a few years since then. And I have no doubt that like all the upvote downvotes of like Reddit are scraped. Like essentially these maps exist. We are already legible to power, and I think there's probably some scary power does not like to be surprised. The goal of these tools is to actually allow us to all be surprised, kind of because like surprise means that there's something that we didn't know in the minds out there. So we like the whole point is we're kind of looking for the whole point is to bring surprise back into the process. And people are going to say some like wild shit, you know, like when people speak honestly, you sometimes see like, oh shit, like half of the town has this kind of hot take that's like no politicians want to hold. They don't want to touch it. It's hard to talk about it. And it's maybe embarrassing, but like it's us. And if we can't grapple with it and be honest and like all be like, oh, surprised and have some judgments, then like we can't actually work through it and we can't so I'm getting a little off there, but like I feel just like an imperative to build interfaces and metaphors that allow as many as people as possible to understand this about themselves before someone else understands it about us, which that's already happened. You know, like someone understands us in this way, we just are not privy to it. We don't get to see what democracy looks like when we all understand it. We only get to see maybe the kind of shadowy edge of like, what is it when just a protest or something dies, you know, like just a movement or emotion like some bit of energy just stopped. Why did it stop? Like what, you know, like small decisions at small moments can actually like stop a lot of things, if it's not desired for them to like unfold. And I truly think those things are in motion already, and it's actually harder for us to act, to collectively. I hope I don't sound
Thank you so much.
conspiratorial there, but yeah.
Thank you for your questions. Let's clap for Patcon.